Hello, hello. Okay. All right. Microphone wasn't working. So let me make sure got enough that you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. I think we'll do this and then we'll move this up. Okay. All right. So you ought to be able to hear me better now. Okay. So the idea here that I was looking for is that I wanted to be able to um, find these price levels, right? So this level, this level, this level. Finding the price level is not so hard after the um, after price has made a few bars afterwards, right? So by that I mean that when you're looking at the chart, when you're looking at the chart here, you don't know that this is a price level until you get to this bar. And then you slide over and then you get this bar and this bar. And then by this many bars, now you know that this is a lower low of at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars. As you keep moving over, it turns out it wasn't the lowest low. And so again, you can't look into the future to know that this bar is the lowest of this 1, 2, 3 bars, not right here, right? You don't know that it's going to be the lowest of the next 3 bars. Okay, so when you do take a trade, I want to know, because we know, if we zoom out here, you see how this price level down here became almost a demand area zone, if you will. From here to here became a zone where this tapped into. And then now today on November 14th might be tapping as well. But when I take this, if my algo tells me to take this trade because the range got so long and because the volume increased, I want to know not. So what I've used in the past is I've used like an average true range, or I've used a range of the bar to use this distance. So say this distance here, the length of this bar would then become my stop, and I'd move it down here, something like that. And you see that technically works for this. But I think another measure of confluence would be keep a track of these levels to your left, right? Keep a track of these levels to your left. So that was the idea of the algo, or not the algo, but the script that I put together last night, which is something I need to make into a function so that I can employ it more readily. So let's just show you kind of what I did. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Like I said, we're already 4 minutes into this. I'm trying to keep these videos now under like 10 to 15 minutes. Doubting I'm going to do this in 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm just going to, I'm probably going to put you on mute. I'm going to program it out, and then I will go back and maybe narrate what I've done. Let's try it that way. Okay. I thought I had. Yeah, there we go. Should have been some music going or something like that. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have arrays for demand. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an array that's going to be A lows, and we're going to have 20 spaces in it. And when you're using the sort feature, you're only going to be using 1 through 20. So actually, we're going to leave this at 20. It'll have actually 20 indexes, but it'll go through index. It'll have 21 indexes, but it'll go through index 20. So it starts at index 0, then 1, then 2, then all the way up to 20, which gives you a total of 21 indexes. We're going to have a variable. It's going to be, we're going to use collections of a vector. Let's just make it slows for now. Null once begin, and we're going to do slows, which is our vector. It's going to be a new vector, and I need to put a space in it at the beginning, and you hopefully I can explain to you later. You'll see why. So slows dot pushback 0. So again, we're just putting something in that first spot of the vector, because the vector also goes from 0 to whatever, infinity. Okay, but when you sort with the array, the sorting only starts from 1 through 20. Okay, so if we want the array to pretty much equal the vector, then we need to make the array, we need to make the vector values 1 through 20 also. All right, so in other words, we're just filling this 0 index for right now. All right, so now if we have a new swing low of 5 bars is greater than 0, then x load vect. So we're going to load the vector method void x load vect begin, and we're going to vlows dot, or I did slows. Why did I do slows? Vlows for vector. Vlows dot insert. I usually insert it at 0. It puts it at the front of the index, the front of the index, the vector's index. But this time I'm only wanting to use the indexes 1 through 20. So I'm going to go and insert it at 1. And we're going to insert what? We're going to insert this number here, the swing low. Could have done this a couple different ways. Double Z low. Okay, and now if vlows.count is greater than 21, so to keep the 20th index, that will be 21 counts. So if we're over a count of 21, then pop vlows.pop. Uh-oh, what'd I do? Let's verify that. I feel like I put something wrong. Oh, up here. We gotta put the initial variable, the initial values for the array. Okay, we got that. All right, so now we are controlling the amount of count control for the vector. All right, and so what we want to do is, because we can't sort, at least as far as I know, there's not a function to sort the vectors. And yes, you can do it by creating a function or by creating the method, but the array already has a sorting function. And the only reason I wouldn't use an array to load all of these, well, let's see, maybe you could use an array and then, no, because as these new swings come in, I mean, you could sort them. You could put everything in an array, keep the array a certain size, and then if you have a new swing low, look through the array, see where it falls in between, which level it falls in between. But you can't insert. You can't insert in your array though. You'd have to then take everything in these array indexes, move them over one, and then put that new value in that spot. So I think it's a lot more work. I think it's easier just to copy what's in the vector. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. All right, so after we loaded the vector, then let's see, this is saying that we have a new value. So we're going to load the vector, and then let's copy the x copy vector. Okay, and to copy the vector, we're going to use a counter. So for IDX equals 1 to the lows.count -1 begin, because again, we don't need that that first element, the 0 index. We don't need the 0 index. We only need the 1, because when you use the sort function, the sortArray, it doesn't use the 0 index. It doesn't use this. It starts at using the 1 and moves forward. So we're going to take whatever's in the vector and assign it to our array. So the array lows of that index is equal to what's in the vector lows of the index as type double. All right, and so now we should have the vector copied into the array. And now that we have that, now we can sort. So we use the function sortArray, and here you put your array name, the size of it, and how you're going to sort it. So the array name is alows, the size of it will be sorting 20, and again, it's starting from the first index, starting from index 1 up to 20. Now, it took me a little bit of time to kind of get through it. I don't work with arrays a lot, and the only reason it took me a bit of time to get through it is because you have to remember that it starts at 1 and moves forward, and it doesn't use 0, even though it has 0. Okay, and so this is how many of the indexes you are sorting, this number here. -1 means that you're in ascending order, so you're going to have your lowest values at the bottom. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 20, 40, 60, 80 in ascending order, and your lowest index will be at index 0, then 1, then 2, so forth and so on. All right, so now that this is sorted, now we have our information of the vector of our vector, our swing lows. They're now all in our array in a sorted fashion. So now we'll say, what time is this? Time is this time here. So we're essentially going to look for this low here. If we were going to take this entry here, we want to know how much lower is the next demand low, right? So again, the idea I showed you before, if we just use the range of the bars and put that down there, that could give us an idea, but the actual demand zone, that demand low is 2 times this length at this point. Okay, so if we're on this bar here, this bar is a 1400 on 1113. We want to be able to identify this demand level down here. Okay, so we'll say if day is equal to 125, 1113, and time equals, what did I say, 1400? 1400. Then X find demand from array. Demand, who demand? You demand. All right. Method void X find demand, and actually we're going to print it. Then, so we're going to return, then print the demand, and so we're going to return a double because it returned the value. So in order to sort through our array, we're going to use a variable integer IDX begin in. Okay, so now for IDX equals, and now we're going to start with the we're going to start with the highest value first, the highest swing, and then the next lowest swing, and then the next lowest swing, and then the next lowest swing. So if our swing, and there's some different things that we can do to kind of clean this up, because there might be another value that shows up first before this. But if our level is lower than our current price, that's when we want to return it, because we don't need this highest one. We don't need anything above it. We don't need anything above it. We want the one that shows up right under it. Okay. So we'll start at the highest one, and then we'll drop down and drop down and drop down. And remember, we're going in ascending order. So the highest one should be 20, and then we'll drop down and drop down. All right. So we know that we have 21 elements, but the highest index number is 20. So we'll start for index of A equals 20 down to 0. Begin. And if A lows of IDX of A is less than our low on our current bar, whatever bar we're on, if our array low is less than that low, then return A lows of IDX of A. Now, some of you will recognize right off that we're not having to as type this like we typically do for vectors and dictionaries and collections. That's because vectors, dictionary, collections, they can hold different types of values all at one time. Whereas, so you could put in a vector, you could put in a double, you could put in a string, you could put in different things. So when you bring it back out, you have to say, what is it, to be sure. But for your array, you are instantiating what type of value it is. Is it a double? Is it a string? Is it this or that? And you can only have one type of whatever in the entire thing. So it'll be a bucket of apples or a bucket of oranges or a bucket of lemons. You couldn't have a mix. But with these collections, you can have a collection of different things. All right, so that's the difference there. All right, so we don't have to as type this. All right, see if we have any errors. This guy here, and X copy vector, that guy there. Okay, so let's see what it gave us. Did it give us anything? All right, we need to add it. Y2 YouTube arrays for demand. It's an indicator. It is an indicator. Oh. Y2. Well, where is it? There it is. Okay. All right. Okay. And we get this max bars back setting. So for our max bars back setting, we are trying to go back. We're looking back at least 5 bars. And I don't think we use any other past references. So we need to have a max bars back setting of at least 5, which I would imagine that it is set for, but it's set for 9. So, let's go 15, but we shouldn't have any issues with the 9. This is taking 5. That. Return that. And we're not looking back any which way. I don't know. That one's got me a little bit perplexed. All right, so we're on, like I say, November 13th at 1400. So we're on this bar here, November 14th at November 13th at 1400. And so what it returned was 182.16. So if we're here and we go down to 182.16 in this realm here, we're going to put our line there. That's the line that it returned. And we say, okay, well, why did it return that line? Well, let's go back. And because this most immediate swing low was here, right? It was here. And so if we go over, and we go over, and we go over, and we go over, I don't know if, because it's going to pull any of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might have caught this swing low right here. Because this is this low right here, 182.16? Oh, why is it in white? Oh, I can't see that low there. I can't see that low there. Okay, well. Man, I keep clicking on that. Let me open this up. Was it this one? Sometimes they show you information at the top there. Okay, but nothing. All right, so but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This bar. Yeah, I just can't tell. I can't tell by looking at this. So let's do this. Let's cheat a little bit. We're going to plot plot 2. It's going to be the low, and then that'll put that and that's a number. So, well, we could do it that way. Let me show you both ways. We're going to just plot the low. Okay, and that doesn't necessarily help. Let's change that color to something like blue. Okay, so now at this, where are we at? We were here. Click on this, and it shows you that the low is 182.16. You see down there at the bottom, it says plot 2. Plot 2 is our low, right? And that's 182.16. So this is what it was referencing. It was referencing this swing low here. Now, so you might say, all right, well, I only want my swing lows to be during market hours. Okay, so you say, all right, well, if swing low is greater than 5, and Eric's market, so that means it's during market hours, then we're going to do it. So then that gives us 182.88. So let's go back over to where we were here. And so instead of 182.16, gives us like 182.88 is the next level. Somewhere in here. All right. And so 182.88 comes in somewhere. But instead of doing that, I want to say if the price, because see what happened here is price had already dropped through this line. It, as some would say, mitigated it. It mitigated it. So I want to remove this number if price has already dropped through it. So when we have our vectors and we're cleaning up our vectors, now this is going to make it interesting though, because now we might not have a count of 20, which is fine because we're always going to have at least 20 in the array. They just might be zeros. And like I said, that's fine because we're just going to start at the top and go down. Yes, that would put all our zeros at the bottom. Yeah, so that'll be fine. So if we end up having some blanks, then because we're sorting in ascending order, it wouldn't leave the blanks, it wouldn't leave the zeros or the blanks at the top. It would put them at the beginning. And then you'd have 1 and 5 and 10 and 35. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, as we're cleaning up this vector, we're popping stuff back. Let's also say IDX of A. We're going to say for IDX of A equals 0 to vlows.count minus 1. Begin. Begin. And if low is less than what's in the vector, vlows of IDX of A as type double, then vlows dot erase. Now when you erase something from the vector, it changes, it removes it from the vector, so your indexing is off. So instead of going up, because now if you look at your 5 fingers and you know that you're going to go through all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. Well, now if you erase one of your fingers, now instead of having 5 fingers, you have 4. But this is still going to try to go to 5. So you're going to end up having an issue with your index being empty. So to circumvent that, we'll do the index starting at vlows count minus 1. So start at the top and then work your way down to 0. And then that'll work just fine. Okay. Double cast object from integer to double. Where will we be doing that at? We only made this one change here for IDX of A equals vlows dot count minus 1 down to 0. If low is less than vlows of IDX of A as type double, then vlows dot erase. Okay, there's no error here, but it's when we put it on the chart, that's when we get the issue. Object from integer to double. This is under the load vect. The load vect, which is here. You know what? I think this is trying to erase the element, the value that it finds. Because there is no integer in here. We haven't put any integers. Only time in vlows we put a zlow, which is a double. Then we're popping that back. Vlows.count. Vlows as type double. Yes, yes. I wonder, is it trying to do something with this? Ah, it is. So our index, no, it's not. No, it's not. The low is less than whatever's in the value, and the low, because it is a positive integer, would not be lower than 0. So we wouldn't have any issues with pushing back this 0. And we don't want to ever lose that 0 either, because it's the placeholder. So for index of A equals vlows.count, vlows count minus 1 down to 0. All right, let's do this. Let's get rid of that, and then we'll come and turn it on. And so we didn't get any errors. So clearly the issue is in here. That's just a simple, quick debugging. But if low is less than what's in vlows of the index as type double, I mean, that's right. We as type the value as we took it out of the vector. And then we just erase the value. Double Z low. I'm sure it's something simple. Let's see. And it's saying that it can't cast a, what did it say? It can't cast a double to an integer? Integer to a double? And again, to me, all that's saying is that it somehow we are ending up putting an integer into our vector. Somehow, whenever we erase and do this, it's making it so on another iteration, there's an integer that it's referencing. And when it references the integer, it's trying to make it a double. Like I said, the only way I can see that is if it's coming to this 0. If it's coming to this 0, which it sees as an integer, then, and I could just make that a 0.00, but you know what? That's probably what it is, because it's working through the entire vector. And it's not just stopping. If it gets to one that it erases, we don't tell it to begin, do this, and then break. And there will be some instances where price is all above everything in the vector and it doesn't erase anything. And so it does have to go through the entire vector. So when it gets through as it goes through the entire vector, yes, everything from 1 through 20 are doubles, but what was in 0 is a integer. Boom. Do that. And now we don't have any issues. See that? I mean, yeah. You know, and you think a 0 is a 0, which, I mean, it is what it is. You just kind of have to understand the beast you're working with. All right, so again, here, if we are on November 13th and we're at 1400, what is the next lowest line? It gives us that 182.16 again. But that 182.16 should have been cleared out when we came through here. So if low is less than vlows of IDX as type double, then vlows erase. It is. So here's the thing. The way that the arrays work, like a vector, you can really quickly go in here and you can say vlows dot clear. It'll clear everything in the vector, and then you can just start over. Arrays don't have anything like that. So you need to x clear array. You need to reset everything back to 0 manually. Or once you get done with this, once you get done doing all of your sorting here and you have a count of your vector, I would say you could go as so far as to just whatever that you copied over into your array, just make the rest of them zeros. We're just going to clear this first. So we'll do it this way. Begin. All right, so for IDX equals 0 to, we're going to go through 20 because we're going to go through all 20 of these indexes. Begin in ALOS of the index is equal to 0. And so now we cleared the array, and then we can copy the vector over into a clear array. All right, so I'm feeling like that's not the problem. Still gave us 182.16. 182.16. Okay, so the 182.16 is still showing up, but that's because it's coming from somewhere. We've already cleared the array, and then the vector should be losing any values that are lower than that 180, than the current value, than the current low here. The vector steadily, you know what? Maybe. I was going to say maybe we didn't get a new value. All right, sorry about that. It's an active household this morning. Okay. All right, so let's see. 182.16 is still showing up. One of the things I can say for sure is that we're only coming into load vect if we are in Eric's market and we have a new swing. So that's the problem then. This here is in Eric's market, but we don't have the new swing till here. And then this low is not lower than 182.16. So what we need to do is we just need to work on clearing this vec, or managing this vector on, you don't have to do it on every bar, but at least for this purpose, you would need to do it more frequently. So let's do a cleanup vect here. X cleanup vec. And that will be all this. And that will run on every bar plus within this. Well, so we don't really need it in here because we're going to run on every bar. But we can leave it in there anyway. All right, so X. Paste that. Get our variable back in there for our counter. And take this out and then just put it on every bar. And at least have it after we add anything. Yes. Yeah, the count needs to clean this up. And then, okay. All right, verified there. Still showing 182.16. Let's clean up VEC. We're doing that on every bar. Clean up VEC. VLows.count -1 down to 0. If low is less than whatever's in the count, then VLows.erase it. Sure. Cleared the array. If VLows.count -1. All right. And copy the vector. And then we sorted the vector. And then for IDX of A, it's 20 down to 0 if A lows is less than IDX of A. All that's fine. My concern is that 182.16 should have been deleted in here when price dropped below 182.16. If low is less than VLows. Let's do this. If we have this time and this date, then we're going to print VLows of IDX. We're going to print what's in there as type double. Okay, so now you see, well, let's not print the 182.16. So we're going to clear this, and then we're going to rerun it. Okay. All right, but if you look within what we have, when the time is this November 13th at 1400, our vector does not show 182.16. So we're still getting 182.16 from somewhere. Where? We're getting it clearly from the array. And I think, again, it's surely got to do with when we are clearing the array. We're only clearing the array when we have a new swing low and we are in Eric's market, so between 930 and 1600. Well, that's right. Well, that's what we said. We said we needed to right, because this swing low here would have to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars, and this bar wouldn't even qualify, so it would be up here somewhere. So now we're trying to clear the array. There will be a swing low. There will be a swing low here, but yeah, well, no. 1, 2. So this would be the swing low here, but it would only be determined at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. I don't know if this one would count or not to give us a, I don't know if we're getting a swing low here or not. This low is 146. This low is 43. So actually, no, this one is 91.30, and this one is 91.43. But it would take this close of 1, 2, 3, 4. It would take this close, but this close happens after my after Eric's market. So this would not even qualify as a swing low anyway. So I don't think that we even get any new swing lows through all of this region to then clear our array. So we just need to have a better logic with clearing the array. So I will say, pull that out, and we're going to clear the array. We don't have to clear it on every bar, but yeah. I'll just say if we're in Eric's market, then clear the bar. I'll work on better logic for clearing the array and maintaining the database. I'll do that later. All right, verify there. That should be what we need. And again, I'll go as far as to say that this programming stuff is not, I wouldn't say it is super hard. It's definitely not simple, but yeah, you kind of have to be able to kind of think through from a real algorithmic standpoint, a linear standpoint. And I know that can be hard for some folks, but I don't mind it. All right, I know we had a print in there somewhere, so let's get rid of this print. All right. That is not what we were looking for. We're not looking for a 0. Okay, so let's go back and if time is this, then print X demand from array. X demand from array. It's going to start at 20 down to 0. So what I'm going to do is, because it returned a 0, let's print, well, it should print the first thing, halos of IDX of A. Yeah, it's printed zeros. Before it does that, let's print what's in the array. And I need to make functions for this kind of stuff. But again, I don't use arrays really ever. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my first time using an array in probably 8-9 months. So, but like I said, it's not necessarily rocket science. But it is something that, when you get back on a bicycle after a while, you gotta, make sure, wiggle your butt around. Make sure that the seat feels right. All that kind of stuff. IDX of A equals 0 to 20. Begin. Now this is giving us the 0 index, even though we're only sorting from the 1 through 20. Print halos of IDX of A. What don't you like? Wait. All right, it's full of zeros. Why is it full of zeros? Well, we know why it's full of zeros, because we cleared the array. And we didn't copy the array until when? Until we got into a new swing low. But we didn't get back into a new swing low. We've already established that. So we need to make sure that we copy the vector at a time other than just when we get a new, other than just when we get a new swing. We need to copy it at a time other than that. So we will take the copy, and after we clear the array, let's go ahead and copy it. All right. Now we have our values. All right. So now let's get rid of this print array. Where were we printing the array from? Just kind of cleaning up some of this as we go. just the way I like it. Kind of. Usually don't have this all the way in. There's our print array. Get rid of that. We are allowing for this print, and voila. Let's rerun it one more time. Boom. Okay, so our value is 176.21. All right, so let's get rid of this line. And let's find our 176.21 is right in here. 176.21, somewhere in there. Okay, so 176.21 is, if we're looking at this timer here, November 13th, 2025 at 2 o'clock, our next demand zone that has been saved or calculated based on the criteria that we set is down here. All right, it's down here. It's not showing up as this one. It's showing up down here. And that one, I guess, is one of these guys down here. Now you say, Eric, well, why don't these qualify? Well, those don't qualify because they technically didn't show up in Eric's market. All right, so let's comment out Eric's market and now verify. And now we get 178.91. So now, again, if we're on November 13th, 2025 at 2 o'clock, our next area of demand would be 178.91, which would be right in here. Okay, and where is that? That is right here. That's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. It took us 52 minutes to get here with me explaining it to you and all. So again, I think that this is valuable enough for me to put this into some type of function. I need to think about it again. I need to clean it up. But yeah, this is definitely valuable. And like I said, even if you don't use it as, I would at least use it as a way to gauge your risk, right? Gauge your risk, where it could drop to again. What else? So now you could do the simple fun stuff, which would be, all right, well, if you're at this time, then don't just print that, but X plot horizontal line. I'm going to using elsystem.drawing, using elsystem.drawing objects, and up here, horizontal line, H line. I don't know if I need DT points. H line equals horizontal line dot create, and then we need our well, for here we just need priceline, priceline.com. Should be a double, and that's what the number is that we put into here. So Z price. That was easy, see? And then we'll say hline.color. We'll make it blue since this is our demand. Color.blue. And then hline.lock equals true. And then we'll do drawing objects dot add hline. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. You don't need that. All right. And so there you go. So when price gets here, it said, oh, hey, our demand line is boom there. Okay. So now what you could do is you could say, all right, well, instead of only doing this when we get here, let's do the, every time we find a potential pivot, let's draw our demand. Let's draw a demand line. So if if instead of looking for a full 5 bars, let's look for 3 bars. So we'll say if swing low of 3 bars is greater than 0, and within those last 3 bars, we had a bearish bar, and the range was greater than the range 7, and ticks, so the volume is greater than the 6-period moving average of the volume. I know this is a lot. Let's say over the last, if that happened over the last 3 bars, if it happened at least once, then plot the line. Now you get all these lines, but it's because it's coming from, the beginning of the chart, and it draws the line from the far left hand side of the screen to the far right hand side of the screen. So, make a trend line instead. Let's see, trend line. How would I want to do that? Where we want it to extend from the beginning of the chart. I'm just having a brain fart about how I'd want to implement that. So, but again, instead of using a full horizontal line, you could just use a trend line and make it start and stop, wherever you want it to. But if you wanted to go from where you currently are back to the price, then you need to be able to identify when that price happened. And to do that, you want to probably use a dictionary of some sort to store your swing lows and the bar that it happened on. And that is another lesson. That is another lesson. All right, so we'll get this out of here. Do that. Put this on the other side. All right, folks. So that is it. That is what we sought to accomplish. But the main thing is that we have the price level. And then with that price level, you can use that to pull into your other programs to help manage your risk, to find your next lowest low or significant low below where you're currently at. Okay. All right. And with that, I'm Eric. I'm out. Oh, let's try one thing. So if we're on the last bar on, if we're the last bar on the chart, let's see where it will give us a line. I imagine that it will give us the same line, but let's just say if last bar on the chart. Yeah, so it gives us the same line. So if you were considering taking an entry right here with whatever the market is doing right here, then this right here is your most your closest swing low. Now, I would go as so far as to say, all right, well then, can we find the second line down? And I'd say sure. I know I'm turning this into something way long, but again, this is something that I want to implement into my trading strategy, so I may as well go over it now. So instead of just returning that one, let's return this low and the one below it. So we could return a string. So we're just going to make it comma delimited essentially. But this is a number. So we need to make that number to string with 2 decimal places. And then we're going to copy that, put that there, and then instead of getting the index that we're currently at that we found, we go one below that. Okay, so now returned here we have a string. This is a string now. All right, so now when we drew our line, now this is a string. We sent up to plot each line, we sent up a string. So let's take out a string. Let's make that into a token list. And then here's something. Let me see if I can do this right. Easy language coach easy language. Typically what I would do is I would say tlist equals new tsdata.common.token list. And then I might even go so far as to clear it, just to be sure. And then, but you don't have to clear it because it's a new one. And then I would say tlist.add. We'd add the z price. And then now that we have the z price in here, remember, one of them is, so the first one is the first line, and then the second one is second line. Keep that in mind. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to have a, can we do it like this? Let's try it. Let's make this a loop. I don't know if we can. Equals 0 to 1 because we have two lines to draw here. End 0. So the first price will be this first line. So that will be, and that will be in our token list. So token list of 0, t-list of 0, but it needs to be a number. So it'll be a string to number. T-list, and this won't be a 0 now. We'll make that the IDX of A. All right, and so the first one will be color.blue. We'll say if IDX of A equals 0, or you could just do a switch. I mean, that'll be pretty. Switch IDX of A, begin, in, case, 0, hline dot color dot equals color. You say, Eric, you had so much trouble typing that. Why don't you just copy and paste it? I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then so we'll make the next one green. So the line below it will be green. Make that a 1. Get rid of this. We're going to lock each of them, and we're going to draw each of them. So this right here is all fine. All right, now we hit verify. All right, we got a green there, but I imagine that it's both for the blue line and the green line. So apparently we took the same line and we drew it over. We took the same price and we drew it over. So how come we didn't draw 2 lines? Well, let's see. All right, so the first line should have been in blue. The second line should have been green. We're going to lock them both, draw them both. The number that we're going to put in here is going to be a string to number, the t-list of IDX of A. T-list.add, we're adding z price. And we didn't get an error, so if there weren't 2 values in here, we would have got an error that said that you can't access index of 1 because it doesn't exist, kind of a thing. So when we found our demand, like I said, the first one was the ALOs of index, and then the second one was the ALOs of index -1. So the one below it, in an ascending order, should have been below it. Let me just zoom out here to make sure. All right, these are ones that we had already drawn, so let's get those out of here. Okay, so what we can do is, before we actually do any of this, let's just print thetlist dot value dot string. Okay, so it printed that same number at 178.91 and printed it twice. So now the question to me is, why does this value show up twice? I'm looking through these values here. These look like the ones that were printed from the token list. Let's not print anything except for what's in the token list. I mean, anything except for this print array. Okay, so that's the only thing that's printing. So we're going to go back and clear this. Okay, so in the array, well, this is if we're on the last bar on the chart. So if we're in the array, we only have 178.91 and we have 183.85. That's if we're on the last bar on the chart. That means that all the other ones have already been mitigated. Yet they haven't. Print a lows. Oh, no. That's just printing the values that we looked at as we were trying to find our next level. We need to go to print array. So if last x, then x print array. All right, and there you see 183.85, 78.91. So 178.91 does appear multiple times, which is interesting. And I'm wondering, is that an error, or does 178.91 actually, is that a swing low that many times? No, it couldn't be. It wouldn't exist anyway, because as price came down through it, it would have released it. So why does 178.91 show up that many times? And all these other values don't. Interesting. Could have been only something that I did. And we're only loading new values if we are here. If we have a new swing. And when we have a new swing, we're inserting that Z1. And then we're popping back. This is the only time where we're adding values there. That is peculiar. And 178.91 is this level here. So it would have, on the close of this bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the close of this bar, we added this, but we should have only added it one time. Uh-oh, gotta take off my coat. This is getting interesting. I can never do a 15-minute video. Maybe I'll chop this up into 3 videos. I don't know. Because again, I could just put this all together and then just show you the final edited, perfectly manicured version, and then just do a voiceover for you. But I want to show you. I want to show you the heartache. I want to show you how to get through this thing. But I keep adding stuff to it. But right now, it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting. And so we have printed the array. We did not print the vector. Now remember, the vector is where the value should be stored. The array is where we're copying it over. So let's make sure that the values are right in the vector. So if we're last bar on the chart, you can easily print a vector with a function. If last x, then x, I think it's condition 1 equals ELC print collection. It will be vect, and then it'll be lows, and then 0, 1, something like that. Okay, so now in the vector, we have 178.91. It shows up 1 time. So why, pray tell, does our array show it like 4 times? Obviously, it's not clearing the array properly, I would say. Or it's not copying the vector properly, but it's between these two. So let's check out them. Clear array and copy vector. So clear array is here. So for IDXV is equal 0 to 20. Again, ALOS of IDXV is equal 0. That looks fine to me. That looks fine to me. And then what about the copy of the vector? For IDXV is equal 1 to VLOS count minus 1. ALOS of IDXV is equal VLOS of that IDXV as type double. Since we're doing this on every chart, let's then xprint array. Since we're doing this on every bar, we have cleared the array and then copied the vector. Now let's print the array on that last bar and see what's in the array. Yeah, like 178, 2, 4, 5 times. Okay, so this is the 0 index. That's our first one, our placeholder that we're not using. And then we get boom, 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 boom. All these are fine, boom, boom. All these are fine. This one, though, is not fine. And then this one is repeated twice as well, which 138, 81, 83, 85. That must be this low. But it's just very random, like this one here. So, all right, now let's just work one more step back. Before we copy this last one over, let's, you know what, we can do them both. Let's look and see what is on this last copy. Let's look and see what's in the vector. Because I assure you it's something we're doing wrong and we want to learn from it. Okay, so in our vector, starting from index 0 up to 14, we have these values. And 178.91 appears one time. And now in our array, we have these values. And I don't know that it's 14. You know what? You know what it looks like to me? It looks like we have 14 values in our vector. And in our array, it's giving us probably 20 values. But it's taking those 14 values that we actually have, and then it's duplicated, just randomly, it duplicated this value here another 4 or 5 times to fill in the gaps. And we didn't ask it to do that. And so that's weird. All right, so for I excavate equals 1 to belows.count minus 1, which only went to that 14. Tell you what, before we sort it, let's print it one more time. Let's do this. We're in investigation mode. Print array. This is just to help us break it up. And then print, because maybe something's happening in the sorting process. Oh, you know what? I bet so. I bet. I bet because there's only 14 items in the array and it's trying to sort 20, that's what's making it duplicates. I bet so. You know what? I know what it is. It must not be clearing the array fully, because that highest value, this is one of the higher values because it's in ascending order. These values must be hung at the top of the array and not getting deleted. And so when you put the new values in, yeah, I bet it's something like that. I bet it's not getting deleted fully. And I know why. Because we have, this is kind of something to wrap your head around. This goes up to index 20. I have to figure out a better way to say it. This goes up to index 20, but it has 21 indexes because it goes up to the number 20, but it also has the index of 0. So it makes it a total count of 21. So even though this says 20, there's a total count of 21. Now, I would have been fine here if I didn't worry about this 0, that's it. I need to make this a 1. So we're clearing from the first one up through 20. That gives us our full 20 deletions. If we leave this at a 0, that will be fine, but we then need to make this 21. See? Now, question is, can I remember and learn this lesson in the future? I think so. This had a little bit of an impact on me. All right, so now verify, and I know I'm getting close anyway, so let's see what we have here. All right, so IDX of A equals 1 through 20. IDX of A is going to be 0. Okay. All right. Let's see. So we have our. Why didn't that run? Did it not run? Did I not? Well, I've got the print log in. Oh, let's do this. All right, so now we have our vector. 178.91 appears one time. We have the rest of the values. It only goes up through index 14 with a total of 15 values, but 14 that we are storing for the swing lows. And then we have our array here. We have our first placeholder of index 0 with a value of 0. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that should be all that we have. But now we have these stragglers here. So yeah, again, it's still not clearing everything that's in the vector. Or it's not clearing everything that's in the array. And so how are we going through this? Your blocks. Even though I added this after, that doesn't put this in the same block. You're clearing when you get to Eric's Market, and then on every bar you're copying your vector. So if I intend for them to happen at the same time, then I need to put them in a block. All right. Now we got it. And market has actually opened during the time while we're doing all this. And so price is trying to move up. And again, so like I said, looking at the chart, you can at least look at the chart and say, all right, well, my next level of demand is down here. So if I do want to take this as a long, I know I have a level down here, and my next level below that is this far down. So if you want to kind of do a scaled exit, then you would see your first exit point and your second exit point. All right. Yeah. Fun work with the arrays today. Oh my goodness. And copying collections. I've done a little bit more with copying collections over the last couple days or so too. So copying and cloning and that kind of thing. But this was a good experiment. So guys, gals, I hope you got a little something out of this. I think this will be something. I'll add this to the GitHub repository, to the website as well. So you can maybe copy this and play with it a little bit and see if you can find something that works for you in your programs. All right, folks, I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.